Our recently retired Jean Spence. Our board president, Lynn Cressman. Our board secretary, Monica Chatham. Our board treasurer, Kevin O'Neill. Our board vice president, Jack Roberts. Carol Schaefer. I know she said don't recognize me as a board member. And then last but not least, Krista Steinmuller. At this time, I'm going to turn it over to Kevin O'Neill to offer an invocation for our event.
Bow your heads, please. O Lord, God of all creation, we come together today to honor and thank those here whom our community has been privileged to have served the children of the Titusville Area School District. We thank you for giving them the power to be gentle, the strength to be forgiving, the patience to be understanding, and the endurance needed to keep our children safe and raise them up to be good and loving citizens. Whether by serving a meal, keeping our schools safe and clean, teaching lessons, or just being there with a smile or words of support, they've been good stewards of our most precious gift, our children. We ask that you grant them years of happy and fruitful retirement. We ask that you bless this food we are sharing today and the memories that will be shared throughout this afternoon. All this through your Son, Jesus. Amen.
Thank you. Thank you. Before we move into honoring the special guests that have joined us this afternoon, our retirees, I'd like to take the opportunity to introduce our new faculty that have joined us. This past spring, with our retirees, we have 15 that we're honoring, and we have 11 new folks that are joining us. So when I call your name and recognize you, please stand to be recognized by our group this afternoon. Emily All. Emily All is our life skills teacher at Main Street this year. Tina Dawson. Tina Dawson is joining us as a third grade facilitator at Hightown. Caleb Gardner. Caleb is joining us as a seventh grade math teacher at our middle school. Jamie Hicks. Jamie is joining us as a learning support teacher at the middle school. Kurt Lederberg. Kurt is joining us as our secondary transition program teacher. Caleb Penny. Caleb is joining us as a life skills teacher at our middle school. Katie Perman is joining us as our business education and multimedia specialist at the middle school. Andrew Pickna. Andrew is joining us as our business education teacher here at Titusville High School. Maria Salvo. Maria is a K-5 teacher at the ECLC. Emily Shaw. Emily is joining us as a learning support teacher at the middle school. And last but not least, Julia Vetter is joining us as a fourth grade teacher at Main Street. We certainly welcome them, and it will be a neat opportunity for them to see our tradition of recognizing the years of service of our retirees. So before we begin our program of recognizing our retirees, I'd like to take a moment to recognize our colleagues that have passed away this past school year. Helen Byler, Arnold Fitzgerald, Jean Matthews, Ann Ruling, and Frida Seeley. Please join me in a moment of silence in recognizing these individuals. Thank you. Also, before we go into recognizing our individuals, I'd like to give a special thank you to several different individuals and groups. First of all, to the Alumni Association for helping to provide the decorations this afternoon. Our high school FCS culinary students who made all of the delicious cookies. And our cafeteria and nutrition staff who have helped with the beverages and serving this afternoon. And then certainly to my secretary, Terry Kerr, who has helped organize all of the different pieces that go along with this afternoon. So I'm going to read through our individuals and just recognize their years of service, and then we have special presenters that are going to be coming up to the podium and recognizing our retirees. But as I mentioned, we have 15, Kathy Edelman, 35 years, Betty Alice, 25 years, Nancy Amboyer, 28 years, Russell Ward Beers, 23 and a half years, Beth Buttrin, 35 years, Cindy Cole, 20 years, PJ Dale, 31 years, Jackie Dilly, 26 years, Joni Jones, 24 years, Tony Klein, 15 years, Margaret Michelle Mitchell, 21 years, Joanne Pondell Fry, 25 and a half years, Shelley Sampson, 31 years, Rod Sheffer, 25 years, and Madonna Walsh, 24 years. At this time, I would invite Stephanie Beck to the podium to recognize her retirees.
Good afternoon. I just want to thank all of you, those of you who have served Titusville Area School District in some capacity, and those of you who are currently serving Titusville Area School District currently. So that's what this night is about saying thank you and just sharing in a nice evening. So thank you for being here in whatever capacity you are here. I'm here to honor two ECLC educational aides for their service with the district. The first that I'm going to speak about is Madonna Walsh, who couldn't be with us tonight, but still we'll talk about her a little bit. She served the district for 24 years as an educational aide in a variety of different buildings. She spent a year at Hightown, 3 years at Main Street, 4 years at the high school, and then 16 years at the ECLC in K4. Madonna was a dedicated employee. She was always at work before her start time and at her post at 7:30, raring to go. She was very committed to the K4 program, helping the students be successful and striving to make learning fun for our young learners. She was very good at her job, always knowing what needed to be done and staying one step ahead of things. She would do anything that anyone asked for to help anyone in the building. I miss Madonna greatly. They don't make them like Madonna anymore. She is salt of the earth, and it's just a different mindset. She just had a different mindset about her job, doing anything and everything for everyone that she possibly could. Sorry. So we are happy that Madonna is enjoying her retirement. She has moved to Pittsburgh to be closer to her family and her friends, and she's finally able to do some things that she's always wanted to do for herself, so we're so happy for her. So congratulations, Madonna. My second person to speak about is Joni Jones, who is here in the back. She also was employed by the school district for 24 years. She worked at all of the elementary libraries for most of the time that she was with Titusville. I believe 21 years in the library, and then she had a very difficult decision to make when her position was eliminated and she had to figure out where to go. She absolutely loved her position in the library. She loved books. She loved reading books to children, especially Frog and Toad. Marissa, although, would have to keep a close eye on her when we got new books in the library, and she had to process them because Joni would get distracted. She would become interested in the cover, reading the back, reading the inside, reading the book. And she would have to say, "Come on now, Joni, get back to work." So just a true honest love of reading, and that's absolutely what we needed for our kids. When the aide position in the library was eliminated, Joni had a really tough decision to make. The amount of anxiety that she had and put herself through was unbelievable. She researched every position that was available in the school district. We had many, many conversations about what the building aide would be like at the ECLC. And through those conversations, I won. So she finally made her decision and she came to the ECLC as the building aide. That day was a day I'm not sure that she is glad she made that decision, because on that day, she also became a Title I interventionist. More anxiety. She loved working with the kids, but was unsure what to expect from that position. Especially, what do I do with that computer? Computer work was a bit of a dirty word for her, although she would try and she would do the best that she possibly could. Joni hung in there with us and became a wonderful Title I interventionist. She can teach kids letters and sounds with the best of them. We miss Mother Joni taking care of all of us at the ECLC, making sure that we had our doctor's appointments and that if we had a cough that we called today, and make sure that we stayed healthy and kept us on the straight and narrow. She was always a hard worker and wanted to keep busy. She didn't like sitting idle and would ask all the time if there were things that she could help us out with in the office or anywhere in the building. She loves to count things. So, in the office, we made her a little award because she introduced us to this. So you probably know these. We didn't know these at the ECLC. So have you ever seen those rubber fingers that you put on the end of your finger to count really fast? This is the Golden Finger Award for Joni. We received her finger for counting, and we made her this little award. So it's a rubber finger on a pencil on an eraser. So it's very ECLC. So we are giving you back your finger, and you have your golden finger to take with you. So Joni is also a devoted mother, and now that she is semi-retired, because she still works at our YMCA from 3 to 6 in the after-school program, and has done that for years. So she's semi-retired. So in her free time, hopefully she'll have more time to visit with her daughter, Sarah. Joni, I just want to say thank you for your service to the school district, but most importantly to the service to our students. You helped a lot of kids. We wish you well in your semi-retirement. Congratulations. Anna?
That's her plot.
This one here?
Yes. Speech.
You just say thanks. Thank you. Yep, you can do it.
Did you do the finger thing? Are you drinking your water?
Thank you, Joni. If you want a speech, you can come up. I'll invite Mike McGackey up to present for Tony Klein.
Good evening. Tony's not able to be with us, but if you ever worked with Tony, wow, what big shoes to fill. So Tony, she did start her career in Texas, and I've known Tony a long time because of her connection back at St. Titus. But before even St. Titus, she was teaching kindergarten, and it always makes me laugh to think of Tony with kindergarten students. She taught kindergarten in Pittsburgh and in a Montessori school back from 1982 whole way to 1988. She did move to Titusville, and when she came to Titusville, she started at St. Titus and was a 5th grade teacher for years until 2007 when I could steal her and bring her over to the district with us. She also worked in the GED program prior to that, working with kids who were strugglers. and that working with strugglers continued when she came here. I used to run the alternative ed program before her, and there was a few hiccups in between, but when she took over, she really took over. And if you know Tony did it Tony's way. And Tony's way was very effective with kids that were strugglers. So from 2007, the whole way until 2023, she was our alternative ed coordinator, alternative ed mother, grandmother, mentor, whatever you wanted to call her, but boy, she really connected with those kids that a lot of other people did not connect with. And a lot of kids were impacted greatly by her. She helped so many kids over those years and coordinated that program and made such a difference with students who would have either dropped out or had not made something out of themselves, but they did because of what Tony did and what she didn't do. And that was a big key. If any of you know Tony, she was pretty black and white. Everything went by the handbook. There was nothing outside of the handbook. If it happened, she had a response in the handbook. And her and I would laugh and joke about a lot of times that whenever she would take a kid, everybody welcomed her with open arms. But when she tried to return them back to school, everybody looked away and wouldn't even give her eye contact. She advocated for those kids that other times and other people didn't have positive interactions with them, and she helped a lot of them over the years. Her efforts are going to be missed and are missed, and she was a wonderful teacher and a good friend. So I want to thank Tony for all that she had done for our district and our kids, especially our strugglers. Thanks, Tony.
Well, I have the privilege to recognize two individuals this evening. Cindy Cole, who is not able to be with us this evening, served the district for 20 years, as I mentioned earlier. Cindy was hired by the district in April of 2002 as a substitute educational aide. During the 2002-03 school year, Cindy continued to work on as a substitute for our district, mostly as a secretary in our health offices, but there were times where she worked as a substitute nurse's aide. Finally, in June of 2003, she was hired full-time as an educational aide. In addition to her day work, Cindy took on the role of our varsity cheerleading coach from 2003 to 07. With high school varsity cheerleading, like that wasn't enough, she also had to do middle school cheerleading during the 2003-04 season. Cindy transitioned from an educational aide to the secretary of the Department of Student Services, where she served in that role for 3 years. In 2007, Cindy became the secretary of the Special Education Department. Cindy served in that role for 13 different years, and during that time, the department was very appreciative of the way that she managed all of their unique personalities and kept the group in line, especially Mr. McGackie. In July of 2020, Cindy transitioned into the confidential secretary position, managing our district personnel, and she worked in that position for almost 3 years before retiring this past February. Cindy enjoys spending time with her children and grandchildren, and we certainly wish Cindy the best in her retirement. Cindy Cole. The next lady, she's back there. I see her. She's like, don't say anything. Don't say anything. I have the great privilege, and I know that many of you sitting around the tables would have the same opportunity to recognize this individual's work as you've had the opportunity to work with her over the last 28 years. Nancy Ann Boyer started her career in the Titusville Area School District as a part-time educational aide at the ECLC in October of 1995. A few months later, in January of '96, she was hired as a full-time educational aide at the middle school. Not long after, in August of '97, she transitioned to the 10-month secretary at the middle school, and she worked in that role for 15 years. Nancy was the face of the middle school. When you walked into the middle school, she's the one that you met with a smile on her face. In this role, one of her responsibilities was attendance. Her attendance reporting was impeccable. When the 12-month secretary to the principal came open in 2012, she jumped into this new role. While at the middle school, Nancy managed the office with ease. She worked to keep everyone in line, especially Mr. McGackie. I had the opportunity in May of 2020, Nancy accepted the position of secretary to the superintendent. During this time, I had the opportunity to work with a pure professional. Nancy was flawless in her practice, and she was often sought out by administrators and her colleagues and other staff for her proofreading and grammar skills. She was, and probably still is, the Power School report guru and could help anyone with their tasks. Anytime I needed help with Excel, formatting Word, or signing one of those stupid Adobe Acrobat forms, I knew who to call. She was always gracious to help and never made me feel silly for asking. Nancy is such a kind and helpful person. She has been recognized by administration, faculty, staff, board members, and the community for the support she has provided in each of her roles. I was so fortunate to work with Nancy during the first 4 years of my superintendency. We developed a relationship where we could even finish each other's sentences, and we'd be sitting there thinking, I was just thinking about that, so was I. So we were often thinking about the same thing throughout the day. I know that Nancy and Harry will enjoy visiting their children, Carrie and Kyle, but especially their granddaughters. And I'm really grateful that you joined us this evening before you head down to South Carolina tomorrow. In retirement, I know that Nancy will enjoy gardening, or at least trying to keep the deer away from her beautiful gardens. Quilting, did you get Kyle's quilt done for Christmas? She told me she did. Traveling, and lastly, protecting Harry from the bears on the bike trail. So congratulations on a well-deserved retirement and certainly a fantastic career in our district.
As anyone who knows me, that I am a person of few words, but I do want to say that working in the Titusville Area School District has been an enjoyable and rewarding experience. I've seen all of the hard work and dedication that goes into educating our youth. I feel fortunate to have been a part of this process, as I have been educated as well, sometimes with an eye-opening education. I have been able to keep up with technology, been given the opportunity to expand my skills, and become acquainted with the business operations of the district. In my almost 28 years of service, I have worked directly under 14 wonderful bosses: Bob Morris, Mr. Terry Kerr, Charlie Heller, Karen Jez, Rob Buchan, Deb Amsler, Amy Herman, Mike McGackie, Doug Gifford, Phil Knapp, briefly, Jessica Stover-Millard, Greg Hauk, Mike McGackie again, and Stephanie Keebler. I've also been blessed to meet, associate, and develop friendships with hundreds of amazing people who I will never forget. But now it's time to be my own boss and make my own schedule, giving me more time for family and hobbies. I wish you all the best and hope you have a great holiday.
We're having some mic issues here. I'd like to invite to the podium Jess Miller, who's going to recognize her individuals.
my individuals aren't here. I have 3 of them, but I would like to at least honor them. My first individual that I had was Jackie Dilly, she served 26 years in this district. I had the pleasure of working with Jackie at the middle school and then again at Main Street. Jackie always had a strong voice for her students as she worked as a classroom aide. Her connections she could make with students was very commendable, and she was a wonderful behavior aide for our school-wide positive supports. I always joked with her this past year as she took on a grandmother-like role with one of our first grade students. If he was struggling, I'd just get on the walkie-talkie and say, "Come on, Grandma, I need you downstairs." It led to many laughs and smiles. Hopefully I can get her talked into coming to be a substitute soon. So that was Jackie Dilly. So the second individual I was blessed to work alongside of at Main Street, it was Joanne Pondell Fry. She's unable to be here also. She was very upset about that, but she had an appointment. She's worked 25.5 years within Titusville. She, alongside of her 4th grade colleague and good friend, Kathy Bodemer, kept me on my toes as soon as I got to Main Street. They were always full of fun stories and laughs. They finished each other's sentences, knew what the other was thinking, and knew exactly what to say to get someone going. Joanne's heart was huge, and she truly knew each and every one of her students. She served on our ESAP team, and the connection she had with kids was admirable. She has already come back to help with some math tutoring in the last couple weeks, and it is always a pleasure to hear her upbeat and extremely energetic voice. Joanne. Last individual I have is Rod Sheffer, who also couldn't attend. Rod worked for the Titusville District for 25 years. I was blessed to work with him at the middle school as he taught 6th grade ELA and social studies. Right from the beginning, Rod would joke with me and give me a hard time. I always would mess with him because of these bright colored shirts he would wear. The lemon beach shirt was my favorite. He always brought some amusement to meetings. Rod had a way that he could get to some of our most difficult students. Because of this, he spent some time in our alternative ed building prior to the middle school, and then he finished off his teaching last year with our elementary transition program. He was the first to help out whenever a student or a colleague needed it. Rod Sheffer.
I'd like to invite up Miles O'Shea and Ryan Guerra.
Thanks.
Happy holidays, everyone. Where's Mrs. Edelman at? I want you to look at her. Because coming in as an awkward newcomer to this big, scary middle school, not last year, 28 years ago, I had Mrs. Edelman for my 7th grade homeroom, and I was terrified and scared, and she had that same smile that she does right now. And when I came back last year to this big, scary middle school, Mrs. Edelman was right there with that same wonderful smile. Kids change, schools change, Mrs. Edelman has never changed. I want to thank you for your wonderful smile, your willingness to be part of the team, and to make a difference in so many people's lives, and leave that lasting impression for all of us. Thank you, Mrs. Edelman.
Thanks, Ryan. I would like to begin by reciting a poem, and I will explain after why I am reading this to you. It's entitled, Dear Teacher. I know you're rather busy. First day back, there's just no time. A whole new class of little ones, and this one here is mine. I'm sure you have things covered and have done this lots before, but my boy is very little and hasn't long turned 4. In his uniform this morning, he looks so tall and steady, but now beside your great big school, I'm not quite sure he's ready. Do you help them eat their lunch? Are you quick to soothe their fears? And if he falls and hurts his knee, will someone dry his tears? And what if no one plays with him? What if someone's mean? What if two kids have a fight and he's caught in between? You're right, I have to leave now. It's time for him to go. I'm sure he'll learn so much from you, things that I don't know. Yes, I'm sure they settle quickly, that he's fine now without me. I know he has to go to school. It's just so fast, you see. It seems just a blink ago, I first held him in my arms. It's been my job to love, to teach, to keep him safe from harm. So when I wave goodbye, and he turns to walk inside, forgive me if I crumple into tears of loss and pride. I know as I give him one more kiss, I watch him walk away, that he'll never again be wholly mine, as he was before today. I was reading a book a couple of weeks ago, and I read this poem from that book, and I instantly thought of Kathy Edelman. And I thought of her because I have young children of my own, and I knew that I would be talking to you today, and I would have without hesitation want Kathy Edelman to care for my own children as they're in school. And for 35 years, the Titusville community and our schools have given our children to Kathy Edelman, and she's loved them and she's cared for them, all with a giant smile on her face. And to me, that's the embodiment of the heart of a teacher. And I did not get to work with her for long, for 35 years. But in her last year of service at Titusville Middle School, when she started the year with a big smile on her face because she knew that that would be her last year, talked to her about teaching a new class that she had never taught before with 8th grade students in a way that had not been taught before at our school. And she accepted that challenge wholeheartedly, and she worked with those students every day because she cared for them and she loved them. And she would come to me and to Ryan and to everyone else so proud of the things that she was doing with them. And she was doing new projects with them in her very last year of teaching and still caring for them. And the last story that I'll leave you with is we have one student in our building last year who's a very challenging student and been difficult to reach for many years. And Ryan and I went to Kathy and we asked if she would consider adjusting her schedule to work with this person one-on-one. And she again welcomed that challenge with open arms. And she helped him to read. And he would come to us, and she would come to us also very excited about the work that she had done with him. And for me, that is who Kathy Edelman is. She has the heart of a teacher. She did that throughout her career, and we are very thankful that we had the opportunity to work with her, and more importantly, that the Titusville community was able to send their children to her, to give their children to her, and trust that they would be loved and cared for. Thank you very much, Kathy, for your service. We greatly appreciate everything you do.
We need to smile. Build that up. Thank you. Yes.
Thank you. When I first came to Titusville, I didn't even know where Titusville was. I came, I had an interview at Conneaut Lake, and Ken Winger, who was the assistant superintendent at that time, was there, and he said, "Do you want to come to Titusville for an interview?" And this was before cell phones and Google Maps and all of that. And I said, "Sure." And I went home and I said, "I have a job interview in Titusville and I don't even know what it is." And so my mom agreed to come with me to this place in Titusville. and we were halfway here. We were on 80 coming from Pittsburgh, and my car breaks down. So I miss the interview. And so back again before cell phone, so I have to call my dad and say, I'm gonna have to make a collect call, Dad. Can you make sure you accept the charges? So he says yes. And I call and I say, excuse me, I'm supposed to be there right now for an interview, but my car broke down. And Kay Hawkwood answered the phone, and those of you who know Kay. And she was the first person I met. And she said, oh honey, I will get Mr. Winger for you. And I'm thinking, oh, thank God, did I remember his name? No. And so he gets on the phone and I say, my car broke down. We're at a gas station, I think it's fixed. I should be able to be there in a little while. And he said, well, how about 1 o'clock? And I said, fine. So we did get here, and I still remember the interview. It was like the firing squad. There were so many guys, and they were asking me all kinds of questions, and then I was like, oh, I don't know. And Randy Newsom took me on a tour of the middle school at that time, or junior high, excuse me. And he said, well, if they didn't really like you, they'd have told you to just go home. And I said, okay. And so the next day, Mr. Winger called and offered me the job, and I took it. And I was scared to death, because when I was, the next year, when I taught in Pittsburgh at a Catholic school, I was gonna teach kindergarten, and I was so excited about teaching kindergarten. And now I was teaching 7th and 8th grade. And I was like, ooh. Okay. And so, but luckily, I met 3 of the most wonderful people. I met Mr. Bill Stump, Andy Marerke, and Jean Matthews, who has just currently passed away. But we were the reading department back then, and we took no prisoners. And I, like I said, I knew no one, so Bill and Andy were kind of my friends, and they showed me all around. But I still remember this day. Andy said, well, get ready, because it snows here from April to October. I'm like, what? What? Where did I come? And so the first year I taught, someone went to the a girl went to the restroom. She set the bathroom on fire. And they came and I said, what? I thought, where did I come to? They said, bathroom's on fire. So it was quite an adventure, and I loved everything I did. And I did the world tour here. I started at junior high, and then one day, Mr. Winger again comes knocking at the door. One of you needs to go to elementary. So I said, okay, I'll go to elementary. So then I did 20 years in elementary, and then I started at Pleasantville, then I went to Main Street, then I went back to Pleasantville, then I went to Hightown, then I came back to Titusville Middle School, and I must say, I had of all the people, this district is amazing with the people that you have here. They are wonderful. They helped me so many times, and the pandemic, oh my. Thank God I had Leslie and Samantha to help me with this technology business. Oh my, oh my, oh my. So I just want to thank each and every one of you, to all of my retirees that are with me. I got the pleasure of teaching and working with each and every one of you. You're all amazing, and Titusville is very lucky to have all of you. Thank you very much. Oh, good.
I'll invite Stacy Halk up.
Hi, everyone. I am honored to present, or have the opportunity, I should say, to recognize Beth Buttrin. Beth was employed, I have to move this down, I'm sorry, up here. Beth was employed by the school district for 35 years. Throughout her tenure, she worked at several schools. Did you start at Main Street in kindergarten? You started in kindergarten. Pre-K. Isn't that interesting? Pleasantville, you were at Main Street, right? At junior high, and then you ended at Hightown. Wow, okay. She started teaching early elementary, ended with her older learners having a 5th grade homeroom. And not only was she an excellent teacher, but she was involved in many activities throughout her career. She spent several summers working at Pals Club. Do you guys remember Pals Club back in the day? She worked after-school academic clubs, and she was also a building rep for TEA. And that's when I first met Beth. I remember sitting in a monthly TEA meeting. I didn't know who she was, and she came in, and it didn't take me long to know that she always knew where Beth stood, always. So, and the other thing I remember is that I looked at her and I thought, boy, I want her on my team. So she, in addition to all of those things, she did other things at Hightown, such as she was the editor of our yearbook for many years. She organized our track and field activities. She had an after-school craft club, and she did all of that without any compensation at all. So she was always working, always doing things to help our students. So when I thought, how could I really recognize Beth? I thought I would look in her file. She always said, well, that's gonna go in my file. So I went to the admin office to see what I could find, and lo and behold, here's Beth's file.
That was hard. It's cool. You need help. All right, so let's see what we got in here. This is not good.
So we have this first really big file. Let's see what it says. It's titled, "The Time She Was Brutally Honest and Brave Enough to Say What Everyone Else Was Thinking." We know that about Beth. That's all we're gonna say about that one.
Here's the next one.
All right, this one says something about dress code, rockin' Crocs, men's capris, shorts, frills. I don't know exactly what this is, but we're just gonna leave that one go. Okay, this one. Oh, let's talk about this one. She looks tough, but she has a heart of gold. Isn't that the truth? Set that down. In reflecting on Beth's career, there are so many times where she would go above and beyond to help students. She would come in early before school. She would stay after school. She would help their families. She would take up a collection. She'd visit the hospital. She'd get food to families. She would do whatever was needed. I remember one time after a academic club, one of our parents had a flat tire on Gresham Road. And I went out to see what was going on, and by the time I got out there, Beth said, "Don't worry, I took care of it. I called a friend, and I swear she knows everyone." And the tow truck is on the way, and they aren't gonna charge anything, it's all taken care of. So she did this all the time without expecting anything else in return. And not only did she do this with her life, but she also instilled all of these values in her kids. She organized efforts, for example, to bring cheer to nursing homes. She had our kids create gift baskets and cards, and then they would deliver them. And I think they did that during Easter break on her own time. So many things that she did to show our students what it's like to give back. So I did speak with some of the students, Beth. I just want to tell you a couple little things that they said. So they said that you were a great storyteller. You had a story for everything. And they referenced the deer story. So I don't know exactly what that was, but someday I do want to hear it. They also said that you always told your watch to shut up because it was always going off when you were teaching. So those were the two things that they said. You have to say these. I'm like, okay. I talked also with the Rocket Room colleagues, and you can see many of them sitting with her tonight. And a couple of things that they reminisced about is they said there were so many good memories and so many fun times, and they said a lot of it we probably can't talk about here. But they did say, in addition to her big heart, they chuckled about her infatuation with giant Jesus, smiled about her love for Winona, shared that she was a pivotal member of the Friday afternoon Attitude Adjustment Club, and they also missed your air drum solos to In the Air by Phil Collins. Beth, there's a lot more that I can say and share, but know that you are deeply missed by all the staff and students, and we are so happy that we've been a part of your career. So on behalf of Hightown Elementary and on behalf of the Titusville Area School District, thank you for your years of service to our district and our kids. You were a true champion for the underdog and impacted thousands of kids and their families. We hope you enjoy retirement, and I'm sure you will be at your camp with family, friends, and all of your fur babies. Congratulations.
Have a lot of room now, don't you? You gotta give it up for Stacy for getting up here. She never, ever does this. Whenever somebody would show up at school and we'd have an assembly, she'd be like, okay, you introduce them. What? 35 years ago, Titusville hired me. I don't know why. I think they thought they were getting my mom. I look like her. I act like my dad. Enough said. No, I started out in pre-K at half a day with Dennis at Pleasantville, half a day with Bob Morris at Main Street, and those were the good old days when I was in a room with 4-year-olds, 25 of them at a time, and when I was at Main Street, there was nobody else in the building because my classroom started at like noon and ended at 4. And you know teachers, 3:31, that building's empty. And so I had a little girl who was a diabetic, and if she was newly diagnosed, so our plan was, this was our safety plan at the time, if Amanda would go into something, diabetic, whatever, I had to send Leah Shaver from Pleasantville to find the man with the broom in the building at Main Street, a 3-floor building. I'm like, go find the man with the broom. And then she would run and get the janitor wherever he happened to be, and then he would come down and then sit with her while I was already giving her peanut butter, and then I'd have to go call her parents because I couldn't leave the other 24 kids in the room. That was our safety plan. So times have changed. And then I went from pre-K, which was my own personal hell, I'm not gonna lie, to 6th grade at the junior high. And I actually enjoyed that. But then the opportunity came to go to Hightown to teach, and all I could think about was I want to teach American history. So I was like, well, heck yeah, I'll go out there. It was the best decision I ever made. I have worked for some great principals. You guys know I love you. You, some of the other ones. No, I've worked with a great staff. I couldn't ask for a better family. We still have our text message, it goes back and forth. I had my work wife Jen with me for a number of years. I don't know how she's surviving without me, I'm not gonna lie. We enjoyed our rocket room. That was the best move we ever made at Hightown, was creating our little rocket room. And we'd watch, Jen and I'd watch that clock, and it's 25 to 8. Blakesley will be here pretty soon. And then it would be like 7:45. Ann will show up, her and Luke. And then it was always a race at like 5 to 8. Which one's gonna make it? Is it gonna be Schwartzy or is it gonna be Crocker? So it was just a great time to sit down and get to know each other. Jen and I taught across the hall from each other for 100 years. And then it wasn't until we got in that room that we actually became wedded. Yeah. But no, working at Titusville is the greatest thing, but retirement's really awesome too, I'm not gonna lie. So if you get that opportunity, go for it. And it will give me more time. Becky and I do a lot of whatever we want to do. We'll get up and like, hey, let's go to IKEA. Say, what? IKEA? Okay, I've never been there. And so we go to IKEA. Today, we have a huge social calendar. We had lunch and brunch with our friends, and tomorrow we're visiting puppies, and I was telling my table that on Friday I get the opportunity to sit there and wait for the cable company to show up sometime before noon. So anyways, just thank all of you, especially all of you that I've worked with through the years. You guys have helped mold me to the person I am, kind of. I've kind of fought the mold a little bit, but that's just me. So thank you for the greatest 35 years of my life.
You guys have a whole new room down there, don't you?
I'll invite Josh Atkins up.
Probably gonna have to raise this up a little bit for me. You stay?
I I know somebody who could fix that.
I think we know somebody who can fix that. I think we may actually talk about him here for a little bit. So it's my pleasure to give retirement recognition for a wonderful man who served this district for 23 and a half years. Russell Beers, also known as Ward. A little quick bit on that. When I first came here almost 3 years ago, I was introduced to Ward as Ward Beers, and I see some paperwork one day and it said Russell Beers. I'm like, who is Russell Beers? And I don't know who this guy is. And like, that's Ward. I'm like, oh, okay. So now we have two Beers. So from here on out, it'll be Ward because that's how I knew Ward. Ward had many great skills. He was in the maintenance department for a very long time here, 24 and a half years. He was very well known for his carpentry skills. You can look around this building, this district, and this room, and you can probably point out half a dozen things that Ward built or fixed or put on the wall to make sure it never comes down again. One of those things I think Ward built is probably this podium that we're all standing at today. I think he built 2 of these for the district and they float around, and again, this is a very nice podium that'll probably never come apart. Ward left a stamp on many items. You haven't been retired a year, and everywhere we turn, there's always a comment, Ward built that, Ward fixed that, Ward has that in his truck, you know? One thing we know is what Ward did, he always did a good job at doing that. The ongoing joke in the department is Ward must have stock and power grab. Because if Ward was building anything, he probably used power grab, it's not gonna come apart. And going back to putting a stamp on everything, Ward would always say, you know, if we're gonna build it, it's gonna be there for a very long time. And the other joke is, I always feel bad for the person that has to tear this apart. Well, we came across a few of those things this past summer when we started renovating some of these buildings. And, well, Ward, you're right. There's a lot of things that we found that were not very easy to take apart. We took down all the chalkboards out of Hightown, and well, they didn't come down in one piece. Then I think we had another 2 days after that getting all the glue off the wall. But you go out there today, you can't even tell. But you did your job well, and you made sure everything in these buildings were safe for everybody working around the items that you worked on. You single-handedly changed a lot of the rooms in these buildings, built additions, you know, built new departments, built a credit union, built an online campus. I mean, many things you look around, Ward Beers built. And there's going to be a lot of things in this district that will have a Ward stamp on it, long beyond any of us. Another great trait about Ward is he's always willing to help others. Anything you ask Ward, and hey Ward, can you give me him? No problem, go take care of it. Whether it's his job or not, Ward would always go help somebody else. There was a lot of things that Ward did that just, you know, reflected his values. Ward's a man of faith, and everything he did showed that. One thing he did for us every year, and we almost made a phone call this year because we missed it. Ward would always provide an annual ham and potato luncheon for everybody down at the maintenance department every year around Thanksgiving, and it was missed this year. So that being said, we're gonna have a picnic next Friday, and you're more than welcome to bring ham and potatoes if you want. Another thing is a lot of the co-workers at the maintenance department cared for Ward, got to work alongside Ward for a long time. One of the things that was pretty shocking to me, I went around the department here over the last couple of weeks trying to dig up some dirt on Ward on what I could say up here to, you know, get a couple laughs or, you know, get a couple smiles out of Ward. And I don't know what you bribed them with, but they didn't give up anything. You know, and I thought for sure I would get something, but everything they had was nothing but good to say, and the good job that you did throughout the district. Today we honor Ward for his dedication, service, and hard work, and for being a great human being. Congratulations on your retirement. We wish you the best in this new chapter in your life. Thank you, Ward. It does say Ward.
I'm going to say that, you know, for the tenure that I was here, it was a privilege for me. And of course, being a 5th generation carpenter, it kind of played into all my skills. And when there was an opening in the maintenance department some odd years ago, a good friend of mine, many of you know him, Denning Lediber, he's the one who came to me and said, "Hey, we got an opening in the maintenance department and I think you'd fit the bill." Well, he stood up for me and I went through the interview process and here I am. And you know, the wonderful thing is that, you know, when you get to work in a place and you get to use the skills that you have, and nobody questions those skills, you just put them into practice and do what the good Lord has gifted you with. And you know, there's a lot of people out there even now, many of you sitting out here that are doing the same thing I have done, you know, worked here and then you go on your own way, but you know, every one of you have left an impression. And that's the wonderful thing about, you know, what we do here, is we leave impressions in other people's lives. So, you know, I just want to commend every one of you. Thank you for what you have done as well, you know, from our administrators all the way on down. Sometimes the road is tough, but guess what? We step up and do what needs to be done. So, you know, I appreciate my time here. And I want to say that, you know, everybody, when I walked in the door, people were asking me, what do you think about retirement? I said, you know, this is the best thing that's ever happened to me. I wish I could have done it 40 years ago. So, you know, it's one of those things. I highly recommend it for everybody. So, thank you and God bless.
And our final presenter this evening, Mike Ladd. Here. Sorry, I know you were excited, Sean.
No, I'm good.
Yeah, absolutely.
Hello, everyone. I'm here to acknowledge two wonderful cafeteria ladies. But before I do that, I want to congratulate all the newly retired people. Good luck to the newbies that are coming on this year. And it's nice to see some of those old timers out there still. First lady I'm going to introduce today is Betty Alice. She could not make it today. She had other plans, but Betty worked in the cafeteria for 25 years. She started off as a part-time person at Main Street, and she came to the middle school and then went back to Main Street to finish out her career. When I put speeches together like this, I try and pick buzzwords or whatever to acknowledge the people who I talk about. Betty was stern, strong, and firm. I use those in all in a good way. She's another lady. I heard someone earlier say goes by the book. Betty was by the book. She was there early, stayed late, got the job done. So I congratulate Betty on her years of service, and good luck to her. Next lady I'd like to congratulate on retirement is Shelly Sampson. 31 years of service. The word that comes to my mind for Shelly when describing her, she was the cornerstone of the cafeteria department. She did anything and everything the district asked of her. From working in the kitchens day in and day out, to working football camp, to working a banquet, to many 31 years of doing the Christmas tea. This lady did it all. You know, back when we had banquets and stuff like that, Shelly signed up. It was great. She worked here. She went to the middle school, started that kitchen when we opened the building up, and then she went to Pleasantville Elementary and finished out her career. And it was a great career. She now has a well-rested retirement ahead of her, making sure John behaves himself and the kids behave themselves and enjoys her grandkids. And, you know, I don't have enough words to describe Shelly. You know, she made my life easier when I ran the cafeteria department, and then in the future when the management groups came on, Shelley was very supportive of them too. You know, she did an excellent job for the district, and I thank you. I know the district thanks you, and anybody who's been associated with the district knows Shelley and the product that she put out in the cafeteria. I congratulate her. Come on up, Shelley. Say a few words? Nope. Okay.
Can you come up, like, at least, we can just come together? Yeah. Thanks.
Yep. You want me to introduce Sean?
Sure. So I don't forget.
Mr. Sean Fink.
All right, last but not least, so I have two people I'm going to recognize tonight. It is with great pleasure that I'm able to share a few words on the behalf of Michelle Mitchell, who dedicated 21 years of service to our district. Michelle was unable to make it today, but she did manage to come to our school last week for a luncheon to catch up with her friends. It was really great seeing her. She looked energized, jovial, and refreshed, so I asked her if she was interested in coming back and doing a little subbing. And in true Michelle fashion, she smiled and said, "I don't think so." Michelle spent 18 of her 21 years in first grade out at Pleasantville. She's formed many friendships and bonds with the staff and students over this time. Her sense of humor, willingness to help out her fellow colleagues, and tough love approach to teaching were some of the qualities that really stood out over the time in first grade. Michelle never backed down from a challenge or a challenging student. She did her best to get the most out of each student that she had in her classes, and she left a long-lasting impression on many. Michelle will be missed, and everyone at Pleasantville wishes her the very best as she moves into a well-deserved retirement. So in addition to speaking on behalf of Michelle, I am also very fortunate to recognize PJ Dale in her retirement. PJ dedicated 31 years of her life to Pleasantville School. She too is not able to make it here today, but she did come in last week as Michelle did to catch up with the staff and enjoy a nice luncheon. PJ couldn't be here today because her granddaughter had a Christmas play that she couldn't miss. And that is the type of person that she is, always putting others first. Over the 31 years, PJ became the heart and soul of Pleasantville. As many of you know, the key to having a well-run school is having a secretary that does so much behind the scenes, keeping everything organized and flowing so that the rest of the staff can do their jobs at a high level. That is exactly what PJ did. She always went above and beyond to make sure that the school and the people in it had everything that they needed. In the 8 years that I had the privilege of working with PJ, there was no doubt about how valuable she was to the students, staff, and myself. She knew the school inside and out. There wasn't a family she didn't know, a connection she couldn't make, and a task that she couldn't do. The students and staff relied on her on a daily basis for support and guidance. PJ has a big heart and cared deeply about the students and the school. It was not an easy decision for her to retire this past school year because she often said she loved her job so much and the people that she worked with, and it really wasn't a job. At the request of parents and staff, we created an award in her honor entitled the Mrs. Dale Virtue Award at the end of this last school year. This award is given to the student who displays high moral standards, who is a hard worker and a great all-around person. And these are just a few character traits that PJ possesses and ones that we wish to recognize in our students. Each year, we plan to present this award to a 5th grade student in hopes that they will continue to grow and develop into a productive adult after leaving our school. As I previously mentioned, PJ has impacted so many people in so many ways. As it is hard to see her go, she has spent so much of her life positively influencing others. It is long overdue that she makes some time for herself. If you know PJ, she's not one that likes to stay at home very much. She always needs to be on the go and doing something to keep herself active. And we at Pleasantville wish her the very best and hope that she enjoys every minute with her grandchildren while enjoying traveling with her friends. Thank you.
Thank you, Sean. I didn't mean to skip you. It's just what happens when you turn 50 and can't read without better glasses or even bifocal contacts, which I thought were going to help. So I just love listening to the comments of each of our retirees. So thank you to those of you who came up. And if you're not comfortable coming up, I'm not going to begrudge you. We just are here to absolutely celebrate your years of service. But it is truly so fun to listen. You know, I've been here since 2007, and it's so neat to hear the impact that all of our employees, like Ward said, you know, to use the gifts that you're given to make that impact on our students. So it's just so neat to see how everyone plays a role in the bigger system, if you will. So again, to our 15 folks that we recognize this evening, I only wish you the best, and you know, hopefully you are able to have a long retirement and enjoy those things that you truly cherish. As we get ready to celebrate the holiday season next week, I wish you each and every one of you a Merry Christmas and a Happy New Year, and hope that if you are traveling, you have traveling mercies as you visit your families and friends that may not be in the Titusville community. Please don't run out of here. We have some great cookies, and we have a lot of great people around. Catch up and reminisce with them before you leave this evening. And then whenever you do decide to leave this evening, please have safe journeys home. Thank you for coming.